Hello and welcome back to Seaside Garage and my latest purchase, the Volvo 440 that I bought a couple of weeks back, 1.5 weeks ago I think. I really wasn't looking for a car, but I was contacted by a viewer who had this, and you should watch the previous video about it if you want to know the details. He got a very high estimate to get it through an MOT, and he decided to go find another car. He tried to sell it, nobody wanted it, and then in the end I got to buy it for around the scrap price in Denmark. Now I got it home, it drove perfectly home, and I have actually been driving it quite a lot since that because it's a really comfortable car. It's a really nice cruiser. Everything works, there's decent space inside, and yeah. But it's time to take a look at what I actually bought, because there was some small minor mechanical stuff that needed to be fixed before the MOT, but there was also a bit of an unknown about rust in this. So I need to take a look at the rust situation and the mechanical stuff. So what I want to do now is to just take a look at the interior, see what's underneath the covers, for instance, and then put the car on the lift, check the suspension, the brakes, and the rust. Because I want to MOT this car, even though there's quite a while now, because it's a classic car. I would like to MOT it so you can use it as a daily if you want. I don't know what to do with this car when it's done. Right now I'm just using it, and it's nice to have a backup, to be honest. But at some point I will either sell this or just store it and use it as a winter car, or I just don't know yet. But I think I could actually maybe make a bit of money on it if I sort it out completely. In a couple of years it will be a proper classic car in Denmark. That means 8 years in between the MOTs and very low tax and so on. So it will be worth something then, because it's perfectly usable as a daily. So having a classic car that is actually usable, there's quite a big of an audience for that. Anyway, let's take a look at the car. This Volvo got so many clues about that rare kind of owner that I think is about pretty much has disappeared. Some elderly people who bought cars in the 90s who just took so good care of their cars and serviced them and protected them, put covers on the seats even though it was completely brand new seats and perfectly sittable. They just protected so much stuff, and this car is giving so much of that vibe, because take a look at in here. Yep, there is a really nice protective cover over everything in here, with the Velcro. I don't know if it's probably not stock or original, but something that you could buy to it. So it's protected. The guy I bought it from told me that it's a bit moldy underneath there, so there's probably some water coming in somewhere. And another issue is this over here. This one falls out, so if you really accelerate hard, you lose all your lighting. It's down to this clip being snapped off, so I need to fix that somehow. But let's take a look at that underneath. Yeah, it's looking nice back here. But yeah, moldy, I can see that. And I can see water in here also. I need to figure out why that is, and I need to dry it out for sure, because this will rot it out completely in no time. But it seems solid. But I also see that it has already had some kind of repair back here. So it's probably true that this car got some rust. And then there is the rear seats. Looking very nice. It even comes with a little blanket. It looks brand new back here. And then there is the front seats. The guy I bought it from did lift it up and showed me that it looked pretty nice, but also showed me that there was a hole right there. It's also present in the cover, so maybe the cover made it somehow. That's interesting. Maybe there's something in the seat. Anyway, I'm just going to remove it because I don't like the look of these covers. I'd much rather have a hole in the fabric or something than this cover thingy. But it's definitely looking decent. It got some interesting wear marks right there. I can feel something. It's got to be a pressure sensor. That is really feelable right there. And then there is this small hole. But other than that, it looks pretty decent. Let's remove the other one. Removing these will make the car look a lot smarter in my opinion. And on this side, my daughter had a bit of a banana incident. So it's really disgusting now. Yeah. It needs a clean, but it's really in good shape in here. Looks so much better, and now is the time to use these seats instead of setting on some covers to protect the seats, because it's the rest of the car you should worry about probably. It looks way better. So this is the 1.7 Renault engine. And I gotta be honest with you, this engine is a lot more zippy than I was expecting it to be. It really gets up and go. It's got a fuel rail and multi-point injection. For some reason the 1.8, the bigger engine than this, is mono-point. That's a bit weird. But this is multi-point injection. It really runs and drives really nicely. I gotta say the sound though is not very Volvo-ish, especially the starter sound. It cranks for a little bit longer than you expect, and then it kicks into life with a bit of a and it's very Renault-like. It's not very Volvo-like. I'm used to Volvos being more, but it's not a Volvo engine, and you can hear it. But it's a really nice engine. I like the way it drives. It's just nice and surprisingly quite a lot. I'm tempted to say it's just as quick as the Porsche, to be honest, which is not saying a lot. But looking at the engine bay, the overall condition seems very nice. You can see a lot of wax stuff and protection around the strut towers. That looks really nice. I don't see anything concerning in here. I have a noisy clutch cable. I tried to grease it up in the previous video with no help. The binding point is way up in the start of the travel, which could mean that the clutch is worn. Could also mean that it would be out of adjustment, but what is weird is that it's really loose already. And if I'm going to move that clutch binding point, I will have to loosen it up even more, which is not ideal, I'd say. Maybe I can actually let it a little bit, but I think I'm gonna buy a new cable for this and fit, because it looks to be coming in at a crooked angle. And I think that is what makes it so noisy, because it's trying to eat its way through the outer sheet. But take a look at the amount of protection stuff there is all around. That's pretty nice. It's just looking well serviced and in great overall condition out here. And do remember, this car just passed 100,000 kilometers. It's in my world pretty much brand new. Definitely not used a lot. The only thing I noticed that needs attention is the red stuff right there. That is servo oil, and it's also a bit noisy in the servo, so it's leaking. Small stuff. Let's put it on the lift and check the underneath. So it lifted. It didn't just go through the floor. That's a good beginning. I don't feel any play in the front bearings or ball joints. Let's remove the wheel and check those brakes. Really nice tires. They are good for many kilometers. That's great. In here it looks nothing too worrying. Everything looks well protected in here, and of course they could be hiding something behind this plastic, but I doubt it. The brakes looks actually fine. There's a bit of an edge on it right there. I don't know if that could be too much maybe, but the pads are fine. Spin the tire. Whoop. There's life in those pads still, but they are getting down there. Let's check the rear. There's no play in it. Slightly dragging brake, but the handbrake isn't good either, so we'll have to check that out anyway. and make sure that everything is greased and well adjusted in there. Yeah, it's a small thing, but it's just so nice to see clean threads that are well greased on wheel bolts like this. It's just, you wouldn't do this if you didn't care about the vehicle. I even forget quite a lot to do that. So it's just a nice thing to see. I'm just going to remove that screw and inspect the brake hardware in there. It's stuck. I'm just going to give it some penetrating fluid just around that edge, but not so much that it comes inside. Yeah, that's good enough. And then I'm going to look at the rust, because that's the main concern. At first glance, I see absolutely nothing worrying in here. What is normally a problem is right there, and I do see rust color. So I do presume that rust could be hiding in here. I'm going to remove this piece of plastic just to take a better look, because there's obviously also rust right there. Actually on screws, which is surprising. A lot of caked crap is in here. But wow, it's better looking in here than I thought it would be. There is definitely a hole in this part of the panel that needs fixing. The rust comes from the mounting point. It's just the clip area that has rusted away. It looks at first glance to be looking decent behind it in the inner rocker panel. But I need to remove the entire plastic side to fix that, of course. But I was expecting this area to be a little bit actually gone, but it's not. There is rust that needs treating for sure, but there's not even a hole yet. Remember the rust, the estimate for fixing the rust in the rear was 50,000 kroners. But that's a lot of money. 1 euro is 7.5 Danish kroners. So you can do the calculating yourself. I have a feeling that something maybe has been fixed in here, but yeah, there's a little hole right there. There is a hole there, and it's probably worse than that, but it can't be that bad. This will take an hour or something to fix. I'm not, like, probably more, so maybe a couple of hours, but still, it's really not that bad. And then there is some rust up here, and this is where that estimate that the mechanic gave might make a little bit of sense, because if you fix this and want to do a proper job, you will have to paint the entire rear panel, and that is expensive, of course, but it's not necessary for an MOT. This could probably actually go through an MOT, but just barely. But of course there's probably a hole back here and it needs to be fixed, but you can just fix this area, do some filler work and do a quick respray. It won't be perfect, but it will be usable. So let's give the drum another attempt. Oh, there we go. There we go. So this looks totally serviceable. I don't need new brake components in here. I just need to service them. So that's great. Probably actually don't need to service them. I just need to make the handbrake work, which could be just adjustment. I don't know if it's a self-adjustment system. It is. It's right there. So probably just need some greasing or something. The handbrake is working. It's just not very efficient. But it's able to hold the car. I actually think it's good enough for MOT even. But yeah, this is nice. Let's check the other side. So on this side, I'm not going to check the brakes. I presume it's the same. It's not even dragging at all. So I'm just going to take the wheel off to get better access to the inner wheel arch to check for rust, because that is at the moment my main concern on this car. There's not really anything else that's very concerning. This side looks worse, which is pretty normal because this is the side of the car that very often gets to drive off-road, because when you pull to the side on a small country road you will hit the dirt. So that's pretty normal. There is a hole there, it seems. I'm going to remove this and then take a better look. Another great thing about this plastic stuff is that it's very easy to fix the rust, because it doesn't at all have to be pretty. I think we got the same hole up here. Maybe a bit more. No, it looks the same as the other side. It's not as bad though. Am I even in shot? Yeah. It's not as bad though, but we also have some rust. Possibly just very bad surface rust, but there is some. This is worse in this side though. Got pretty much the entire... It's pretty much what I was expecting on both sides actually. There's a hole going all the way in here. The question is how bad it is down here. Honestly, it's not bad. If it's just this down here that needs fixing and maybe a little hole right there, it's very decent. It is possibly a bit bigger than that, probably up until here when I get everything clean. But that is really in the... That is nothing, to be honest. Once again, I think so far I have found rust that will take maybe a couple of hours to fix. So that's not bad. That's really not bad. I'm very happy. Let's go ahead and take a look underneath the car. This part will be handheld, so sorry for the shaking. I just want to add, there's oil spillage right there, but that's from the Saab. It's not from the it's not from the Volvo. They did mention oil spill from the engine at the MOT check, but I'm pretty sure it's the steering fluid, the power steering fluid that we saw up there, because as he mentioned, he had no, it's not using any oil. So wow, it's really got quite a lot of protection smeared all over the place. It must have been a bit smelly after this treatment. I see nothing that is worrying down here. The sills are hard to see because of that plastic thing in there, but I don't see anything. They did put a lot of rust protection on the rubbers, on the bushings and so on. It's not the greatest thing to do because it will deteriorate, it will destroy the rubber. So far I can't see anything that's wrong with it, so it's all right. The exhaust seems fine. And this is the area where the rust we just found. It doesn't look to creep that far in, so that's good. What about the other side? Yeah, it's better. Here's evidence from the that someone has checked this car over. That is has been hit with a hammer. It's probably from that free MOT check, where they gave an estimate of 70,000 kroners to fix this car. It just looks very nice underneath here, really. I don't even think I have to do anything about the brake lines or anything. They are also looking fine. I don't know where to look on these cars. I don't know which are the really bad areas. I do know they rust, but this car has got a lot of protection, and the last treatment is not that long ago either. There's a sticker in the window telling me that it needs the next treatment in 2026. So yeah, March 2026 is the next treatment. Let's take a quick look at the bodywork. He mentioned that it got one unoriginal mirror on it. This is the original one on the other side. I'm not sure it's unoriginal, but it's not the same. As you can see, it's not painted and so on. It's also a slightly different shape, but I don't think it matters. Of course, it would be nice to get the correct one, but yeah. Other than that, there's a bit of scruffing marks on this part of the wing. Could possibly be removed, I think. Yeah, it's just maybe a tire or something that has been brushed up against it. I don't know, but I think it can be cleaned off. So that's nice. There's nothing really else right here. The doors look just fine. Then there is, of course, the rust down here. That's in the cosmetic department also. But the wheel arch right here is decent. Nothing needs to be done there. The rear of the car is also perfect. I really like these reflector thingies in the middle, and I really like the spoiler. It actually makes the car look a little bit, or quite a bit sporty actually, in my opinion. The other side is also the same, but the rust is worse on this side, so there is some paint repair works needed and welding right there. The doors are perfect. And then there's this front wing that got some bubbles right there. That would be nice to fix, but not needed. But it would be nice to fix, of course. It is really in decent shape. Okay, so it's time to make a shopping list for this car. Discs are pretty worn. There's an edge on them, so I decided to just measure them. These are 12 millimeters to begin with, and the wear limit is 10.8. So with this, I'm just gonna check what it reads. Down here I get it to 10.5. So yeah, I'm gonna buy new discs for this and new pads for this because it's over the edge, but they are also on the edge. So even though I think they will pass an MOT possibly, they won't last too long. So I'm gonna buy a set of pads and discs for the front. So I got on my shopping list 2 discs, brake pads and a clutch cable. And I think that's it. That's just shy of 100 euros, including the delivery. I think that will make this car pass the MOT. And of course, I will also have to fix the rust. That's pretty much free because it's just my hours. I need some paint though, because if I fix the rust on the bodywork, which I intend to do, I would like to paint it using the correct color code. That's around 250 kronas, I think, to get a can of that. That is maybe 30 euros or something like that. Then there is one unknown, because the MOT check done by the previous owner mentioned some pollution. I'm not sure that's a problem, because I think I would be able to smell it, or the engine management light would be on, possibly. I'm not sure it's that advanced. But I will have to check that at the MOT station, because I can check the O2 level with my sun tester, but the rest of it is not precise enough to count on. If it's a problem, it's probably the O2 sensor, which is pretty cheap. The catalytic converter, which has been changed on this one, but I heard rumors that if you buy them too cheap, it's not efficient enough. So it could be that. It could be just a lack of use. I will really give it the beans before I go to the test. And it could be other stuff also, but I really don't think it's a problem. So I'm just gonna act like it's not there and then go to the MOT when I fixed everything else. And then hopefully it will pass the emission test, and if not, then I'm just gonna have to try to fix that. That was really a nice first look on the Volvo. A couple of hours of rust work, a couple of hours of mechanical work, and it should be MOT ready. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.